Good evening everyone and welcome to round number 9 of the Track Stars Touring Car Series for 2023. We're live here tonight from the Trail Mountain Circuit, and of course tonight it is the Trail Mountain 250, round number 9 of the series of course, and it'll see a field of 14 cars taking part in a 250 kilometre race. As we're just looking on screen at the moment, number of cars going through their final preparations. A number of other drivers also finished with their preparations. And looks like they're just having a bit of a mess around before they go racing. Probably should only be a few minutes away from qualifying getting underway. So before we get started, give you a quick rundown of how things stand after 8 rounds of the championship. Of course, last time out we were at Mount Panorama for the Bathurst 1000, which was convincingly won by Ridwan Hamza and Andrew Lee in the number 95 It's Racing Esports Nissan. And of course, Hamza is leading the championship at the moment on 24.95 points. In second place in the driver's standings is his It's Racing Esports teammate in Ryan Palmer, and he's on 2,181 points. And sitting in third place is a teammate to the guy that was just on your screen, and now showing up on the screen now, and that is O'Shea in the CP Motorsports number 50 on 2,001 points. Then rounding out the top 5 is Walker for WIT Motorsport on 1883, and then Ward for RoboSport Racing on 1801. There's a few drivers of note a bit further down the order, of course. Scott is one of them that he's missing tonight. He's being replaced by our 2021 Track Stars Touring Car Series champion in Dan Wood. So Scott sitting in 7th at the moment will miss another round. Of course, those 2 rounds that he's missed so far will be subtracted from his total, so that will bring him a bit closer to the rest of the field later on in the series. Of course, another one, Patasso, sitting in 12th at the moment, but has missed 2 rounds already. So he's on a bit of a comeback drive to try and claw himself up the order, and he'll surely be vying for a top 5 spot later on in the season once those 2 drop rounds have been applied. And then of course another one is the number 12 of Campbell in the CP Motorsports Nissan. He is sitting down in 9th place at the moment. Of course, he has had a couple of DNFs, so with those subtracted from his score and a number of drivers having larger totals being subtracted from their scores as well, he's likely to be bumped up the order a bit. Then over on the team's championship, of course courtesy of their 2 drivers being 1st and 2nd in the drivers championship, it is It's Racing Esports on top of the team's championship on 4,676 points. Second place in the teams is WTC Racing on 3,850, and then it gets a bit tighter from 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. It's CP Motorsports on 3,690. Mashbuds Racing only 30 points back on 3,660. And then we have WIT Motorsport on 3,557, and then RoboSport Racing just 3 points back. And of course our new team in AGU Motorsport is down in 8th behind the team that replaced ISA Esports. So we are underway with the qualifying session. So our cars and drivers making their way out on the track and beginning their warm-up lap. Of course, 15 corners on this trial mountain layout. And a circuit length of 3.98 kilometers. Of course, the final 2 corners being reprofiled for this edition of Gran Turismo 7, which we are just approaching now. Of course, the fast left-right flick being replaced with a much tighter chicane. As we see Palmer now, and we'll just jump on board with him as he completes part of the first lap. Get an idea of what it's like to drive around this track early on in the qualifying session. So Palmer, first one across the line. We'll see what lap time he sets to get us started. There's a 140.0. Red one goes faster, 139.9. Costa Rock comes across the line, 142. Couple of cars in pit lane. Here comes Campbell across the line. He goes to 5th fastest. Lashbrook now coming across. He'll go to 4th. Patasso replaces him in 4th place. Oldman, the next car to come across the line. Although we did miss O'Shea going across the line as well. So Oldman will come across the line. He'll go to 9th. Quickly being replaced by Ward, who is gone to 5th. O'Shea in 6th. So Palmer now on his second lap, heading to the final chicane. Gets the car slowed down for both apexes. A little bit taily on the exit. Let's see if we've got an improvement here. He improves, but not enough to go to the top as Hamza takes another couple of tenths off of his time. Got Von Duve sitting in third at the moment. He remains in third place. Tasso on the run to the finish line. Can he jump up the order? No, he doesn't. Only 6 thousandths away from improving his lap time. O'Shea on his second lap. Comes across the line. No improvement there from him. Hayden having a spin in the background. Of course, Hayden is a late replacement in the WTC, the AGU Motorsport camp. No improvement there from Ward. No improvement there that time around from Palmer, but Hamza goes quicker again with a 39.3. Onduve looks to be backing off of his lap. So next driver towards the top of the timesheets to come across the line will be Patasso. Can he make an improvement here? Still falls short of his time. We have O'Shea coming up to complete another lap. He goes to fifth. Wood comes across the line. He's gone up to seventh actually. Didn't really register to me on the screen. The red behind the background sort of threw me off there a little bit. So we've got 2 minutes remaining in the session. Hamza looks to have backed off a bit, giving him some space between himself and Palmer. So Palmer, Hamza will have one more opportunity to get a lap. Get a look at Campbell. He jumps up the seventh ahead of Wood. Tasso coming across the line now. He jumps up the third place. Does Von Duve have an answer? No, he doesn't. He's got one more lap to do something about that. O'Shea coming to the finish line now. He goes to fifth. Wood doesn't improve on his time, so he stays in eighth. Rushbrook, no improvement there from him. Ward just narrowly missing out on improving his time. So Hamza in the pits, Palmer with a penalty, so he'll be out of action here. So it looks like the first driver that'll end up setting a final lap time will be Costa Palmer, of course, copping that penalty. That will be very hurtful in his attempt to take pole position. So Kosterok coming to the line now. He improves in the 10th. Campbell doesn't make an improvement there. Patasso improves, goes to 3rd. Von Duve doesn't quite have enough. He does improve, but not enough to go ahead of Patasso. O'Shea looks like he is jumping out of his lap. Can Wood produce something and jump up the order? Yes, he does. He goes to 6th. Now it's Lashbrook to the top, and he makes an improvement, doesn't jump up from 9th. Oldman doesn't make any improvement there. Hayden stays in 14th for last minute call up. In a very unfamiliar car to him. He's very much used to racing the Nissan, so he will have a bit of time to get himself acclimatised to the car during the race. So I would say look for him to make his way up the order if he can avoid the engine damage that he has become known for at times. That being said, he did a stellar job in avoiding any incidents at the Bathurst 1000 last week. But of course, it is Hamza on pole position, continuing his strong run of form so far in the 2023 Trackstars Touring Car Series. And he'll take pole position for the Trial Mountain 250. Another It's Racing Esports front row lockout. So we get a quick recap there of the qualifying order. Of course, Hamza and Palmer in 1st and 2nd. Then it's Patasso in the Mash Spuds Racing number 32 Lexus in 3rd place. And then Von Duve 4th in the 117 WTC Racing Lexus. Then we have O'Shea and Wood in 5th and 6th. Then it's Ward and Campbell in 7th and 8th. Then rounding out your top 10, of course, Lashbrook in the 2nd MSR Lexus, and Kosterok in the AGU Motorsport Lexus. And then our final 4 positions, of course, it's Walker in 11th, Harcourt in 12th, Oldman in 13th, and Hayden in 14th. And of course, Venti rounding out the grid in the safety car. So it looks like we should be just a minute or two away from getting started here. As our lobby host in Ryan Palmer now gives the starting soon command. With our 14 Group 2 touring cars lined up to go racing. And of course our one Nissan GTR safety car at the back. So countdown now underway. Should be going racing very shortly. 46 laps of the Trial Mountain circuit for the Trial Mountain 250. Hamza and Palmer on the front row. Pitasso, Von Duve in row number 2. And then of course O'Shea and our 21 champion in Wood on row number 3. The 5 lights come on. The lights out and the Trial Mountain 250 is underway. A brilliant start there from Hamza and Pitasso. Palmer gets bogged down on the start and is probably going to drop to about 3rd or 4th in the opening corners. Bit of contact in the background there. Looks like one driver having a bit of an incident. That is Walker. He does come through unscathed. So Hamza now leading the way from Pitasso. And then it's Wood, Von Duve, Palmer having a look there for position number 4. Looks like he got the move done. As we now head on to the back straight. Palmer now right behind Wood. Pulls out of the slipstream. And after dropping down to 5th, looks like he's going to move his way into 3rd early on in this race. Wood looking for the switch back there on the exit of the sweeping hairpin as they run side by side through to right left. And Wood going to get back into 3rd place. So come to the end of lap 1. It will be Hamza from Pitasso, Wood, Palmer, Von Duve, O'Shea, Ward, and then Kosterok. As Ward and O'Shea going side by side on the run to turn 1. O'Shea will have the inside, but Ward holds strong on the outside and manages to hold on to position number 6. And now O'Shea just coming under attack there a little bit from Kosterok, who has made an impressive start here to this race. Kosterok certainly looking racy in the early parts of this Trial Mountain 250. As Hardcourt running side by side with Campbell. Campbell does manage to outbrake him. But it looks like Hardcourt just getting a little bit of a better run there. But certainly not enough to challenge for position there. So Campbell just struggling a little bit here early on the race. As Harcourt tries to take another look here and turns 14-15. Campbell running wide. And this battle will continue on between these two. Just looking a little bit laggy there. Did notice there was sort of a bit of glitching going on in the TS2 race. So it could possibly be a bit of an effect of the track in this game, possibly. As Kosterok now has a 1 second penalty. I imagine that would be probably from track limits. Possibly at turn 1. As O'Shea and Ward continue their battle for 6th place. As we're on lap 3 of 46. A bit further up the order, of course, Wood in 3rd place here. Palmer just half a second behind. Of course, last week we did see Wood in the number 50 CP Motorsports entry in the Bathurst 1000, partnered with O'Shea. This week he has received the call up to jump into WTC Racing Lexus. As Palmer makes another move down the end of the back straight. Bit of contact between the two there, but nothing too major. As they run side by side again, it looks like this time around Palmer might have completed the pass. Although Wood still looking to attack and reclaim that 3rd position. So I wouldn't say this battle is over by any means. We do know the kind of speed that Wood does have. So he could certainly regather himself and get himself back into contention. Of course, Wood and O'Shea last week finishing 4th just off the podium in the Bathurst 1000. Coincidentally finishing behind the car he's now driving, in which Scott and Halton managed to take a place on the minor step of the podium in 3rd place. So Hamza out to a 3.3 second lead. So very much in control of the race in the early stages. Of course, Pitasso not too far behind. And will certainly be there to capitalise on any mistake that Hamza should happen to make if he does. Gap between Pitasso and Palmer at about 2 seconds. Palmer just stretching that margin out to 1 second over Wood. And then Von Duve sitting back there in 5th place. Certainly at this point of the race, it'll be a very good point tonight for the WTC racing team in their quest for 2nd place in the team's championship, which would be a very impressive effort for the new team to the Trackstars Racing Series in 2023. The battle between Ward and O'Shea continues on. 4th, 6th and 7th. O'Shea looks to be close enough to make his presence felt, but he just doesn't seem to have enough to get some kind of overtake done on Ward. But now in the last 2 corners, Ward has just gained a bit of an advantage there, taking that gap out to around a second and closed the gap to Von Duve down to a second as well. So a bit of a look back further down the order. Of course, Campbell up to 8th place. Probably taking advantage of that 1 second penalty from Kosterok. Kosterok's dropped down to 9th. And then the final place in the top 10, currently occupied by Walker. But he does have Harcourt and Lashbrook close behind him. Both of those drivers will be eager to claim a spot inside the top 10. So Harcourt in 11th, Lashbrook in 12th, Oldman in 13th place, and unfortunately for Hayden, he is a fair way behind Oldman in 14th and final position. And probably at this stage is probably in danger of going a lap down. Looks like he's heading to the pit lane to repair damage. So back up the front, Hamza deciding to put the pedal to the metal. The gap now nearly out to 6 seconds. starts to stretch his advantage over the rest of the field. Of course, Picasso definitely not falling into the clutches of Palmer by any means. If anything, he has just built a little bit of a cushion into that margin. As Palmer has now picked up a penalty here. Probably from cutting the apex on the turn 1 chicane. So that will drop him a bit further back behind Picasso. So Palmer has closed in a little bit this time around. But of course he is going to have to serve that 1 second penalty. Which is going to really hurt him. Is that margin between him and Picasso now out to 3 seconds as a result of that penalty. Duvet up into 4th place. Not sure if Wood made a mistake somewhere. Or it could be possible, but Von Duvet has found a little bit of pace. Does look like Wood has dropped off a little bit in the comparison of lap times between the two. So Wood now down in 5th, just coming under a bit of pressure here from Ward and O'Shea in 6th and 7th. Of course, both of these drivers would certainly be looking to claim a top 5 place. Ward looks like he's made a bit of a mistake there and picked up a track limits penalty. O'Shea is certainly looking to take advantage of that. I'm not sure if there's a bit of a cheeky Hamilton-esque strategy here, where Ward's just sort of looking to back O'Shea up a little bit and then try and stretch out a margin in a later part of this lap to try and protect that position. But at this stage, O'Shea would certainly see that half-second penalty hovering over Ward's head. And would know that he just needs to keep within touch of Ward. And he'll be able to pick up an extra position here while Ward serves his penalty. So Ward coming to the penalty burn area. He pulls off to the right, off the racing line. And O'Shea takes full advantage of that and will move into 6th place. So we're about a quarter of the way into the race. Hayden unfortunately not really having a good start to the race. He has been lapped by the first 10 cars. Of course, a last minute call up to fill a vacancy in the number 34 AGU Motorsport Lexus. So I would imagine there hasn't been too much time to acclimatise to the vehicle and dial in that setup. So I am imagining that the main priority for this race for Hayden will be just to make it to the finish line and collect whatever points he can for the team. Hamza is on a tear at the moment. Setting another fastest lap last time around. And only a 10th off of his best this time around. And that margin between himself and Patasso now over 10 seconds. Of course, all drivers starting on the racing medium compound as Hamza just crosses the line. Resets the fastest lap with a 39.4. Of course, the two compounds in play for all drivers here tonight. Of course, all drivers starting on the racing mediums as I just mentioned earlier. And of course there is one set of racing soft tyres available for use at any point throughout this race. Of course all drivers are required to qualify and start on the mediums. So not sure if Hamza is just doing this for fun or whether there is a bit of a strategy play here. Possibly could be looking at a bit of a safety car window that he's trying to build a margin for. As the opening laps he did sort of keep his distance between himself and Patasso relatively low. It's Patasso just picking up a half-second penalty here. Don't think it'll quite be enough to allow Palmer ahead. I think Pitasso has a bit too much of a gap between himself and Palmer for that to happen. Although it could really close Palmer right to the back of Pitasso into turn 1. Though Palmer does get alongside Pitasso into the 1-2-3 chicane, and he now does move into second place, so my calculations were a little bit off there. And unfortunately for Pitasso in the MSR Lexus, he does drop down to third place after what has been an excellent start for him to split the It's Racing Esports Nissans early on. That said, there is plenty of pace here in this MSR Lexus, so I certainly wouldn't consign him to a third place finish at this stage of the race. There's certainly a lot to play out here. Pitasso can certainly recover from that penalty and get himself back into second at the very least. So of course Hamza clearing out, now a 15-second lead over Palmer. And then it's Palmer and Pitasso, only 0.2 of a second covering the two. Basically running nose to tail in the battle for second place. Of course that dirty air just having a bit of an effect there as Pitasso ran through that opening chicane of the lap. Palmer just getting a little bit tail happy on the exit to the back straight. Pitasso did get a better run down here. Is there a big enough hole in the air punched for Pitasso to try and make a move? He has a look down the inside. Don't think he was far enough up the inside, and Palmer just covered it off. Managed to hold on the second. So Pitasso definitely looking like he has the upper hand here on Palmer at the moment. It's just a matter of whether he can set himself up for the overtake, as we now see Von Duve diving to pit lane. Looks like he'll be the first driver to make the switch to the soft tyres. As we have 16 of 46 laps completed here in the Trail Mountain 250. And it's Von Duve with the first pit stop of the race. So Von Duve rejoins in 11th at the moment. Of course, that definitely won't be where his final position will be. So head back down the order. Pitasso looks to have dropped off a bit. See if we can find out why. Looks like he might have just copped a bit of dirty air through that opening chicane. We do have a battle here for 4th and 5th between Wood and O'Shea. So O'Shea certainly close up to the back of Wood. Certainly at this stage this would play into the hands of Von Duve, who is immediately up to 10th position. And immediately setting a personal best first sector on his set of soft tyres. Looks like Hayden just getting back underway. Had a bit of a mistake there. Maybe see if we can get that on a replay. Just scrapes the wall a bit of contact with the barrier, bounces back into the path of Von Duve. Thankfully, Von Duve manages to avoid any contact there. A bit further up the order, Wood still managing to hold off O'Shea for 4th. Well, Wood just runs a little bit wide on the exit there. It doesn't look like it has hurt him too much. But O'Shea setting himself nicely for a run down the back straight. I don't think he is close enough to Wood to get the full effect of the slipstream and make an overtake. O'Shea does close up to the back of Wood at the end of the back straight, but certainly not enough to make an overtake. So I have noticed on the screen, Walker now up in the 7th, Crossrock in 8th, Harcourt in 9th. What has happened to Campbell? Campbell looks like he's had a bit of an incident here that I have missed on screen. It looks like he's made a pit stop here, but has chosen not to go with the soft tyres. So it looks like another pit stop is a possibility for Campbell here later on in the race, and he is down in 13th, so he will be hoping to make up a bit of time here to get himself further up the order. Harcourt into the pits now for his pit stop. He switches over to the soft tyres, and he will come out narrowly in front of Campbell. just runs wide a little bit, opens the door for Campbell. But they will continue to run side by side. Harcourt probably trying to take advantage of those soft tyres and the extra grip they will provide. Certainly providing a lot of room here for Campbell. I think Harcourt maybe attempting to get the draft along this back straight and try and solidify his place in 12th through that avenue. Should be at this point that maybe his tyres will be up the temperature following the pit stop, and you'd certainly expect that he'd start to pull a bit of a margin out over Campbell. Oldman now in pit lane as well from 11th. I do believe Lashbrook was behind him. An interesting thing to note as well is that Von Duve has set the fastest lap of the race on those soft tyres. So he's starting to get moving along now. The gap between him and Costa are only 6 seconds. So the undercut probably working out well here for Von Duve. What remains to be seen though is what kind of effect this will have later on in the race as the tyres get a bit more worn. What kind of degradation will we have on these soft tyres? Will they last the distance and be able to still punch out some good lap times? Further up the field, back to our leader. Hamza now out to an 18-second lead over Palmer as we approach the halfway mark of the Trial Mountain 250. Of course, round 9 of the Track Stars Touring Car Series for 2023. It is Hamza, who so far has won 7 out of the 8 rounds in the championship. And then in the other one, finishing second to his It's Racing Esports teammate in Palmer and Matt Simmons in the Kyoto 500. Of course, they are well on their way to winning that race as well, and an unfortunate mistake from his co-driver in Barbara resulted in a pit stop being required and dropping him down to second at the late stage of the race. And of course there was one other race that was not claimed by Hamza as well in the opening 7, or the opening 6 rounds, and of course that was the first race at Road Atlanta, where the man currently with the fastest lap, Von Duve, managed to claim his debut victory in the Track Stars Touring Car Series. Of course, Von Duve now up in 8th place as Ward into pit lane. Completes his compulsory pit stop at roughly the halfway point, rejoining the race in 9th place, just ahead of Lashbrook. Lashbrook sitting nicely inside the top 10. Reached halfway through the race, 23 laps complete from Hamza, 23 to go. 19-second lead from the number 95 over to number 96, who holds a 5-second lead over to 32 of Pitasso. But it won't be a 5-second lead for long if he keeps doing that. And just as we saw there, the margin just dropping by half a second there as he lost a bit of time. Even more than that, probably a further second taken off there as well. As Pitasso now drops that gap down to about 4 seconds. I'm just noticing some of the tyre levels are getting down a fair bit, especially on that right front tyre. Would expect that maybe there will be a few pit stops to come very shortly. Of course, as we were running through the order, Pitasso about 5 seconds back from Palmer, and then it's 4.5 seconds further back between Pitasso and Wood. O'Shea looks to must have made some kind of mistake somewhere as he dives into the pits. He did drop to a 12-second gap between himself and Wood. So I think there could have been a bit of a mistake there somewhere. Let's see if we can find something out. No, we're probably a bit late there on that replay. CP Motorsports crew spring into action. Fresh set of tyres. Some extra fuel going into the gas tank. And O'Shea is on his way. Comes out in 9th place. Just out in front of Lashbrook, who has picked up a half-second penalty. Looks like he's done that at the back end of the circuit, just before the penalty line. So he'll have to serve that penalty next time by. And certainly his efforts to close up to the back of O'Shea will come to naught, as we now see the Mash Spuds Racing pit crew vacating their garage onto pit lane, as the number 32 of Pitasso will make his pit stop. I anticipate this will be a new set of soft tyres going on the car. A bit of fuel to take him to the end. And unfortunately not a really well-timed pit stop, as Pitasso has now come out behind the pairing of Kostarock and Walker, who are battling it out for 5th place at the moment. And he will now have to navigate these two drivers without any fuss if he wants to make a dent on the gap that he has between himself and Palmer. He has gotten a good run onto the back straight. So the first car ahead of him, and one overtake completed with minimal fuss. that it's definitely what Pitasso needed early on. I think Walker certainly had a bit of awareness that he was on the tyre with less grip, and certainly did not want to impede Pitasso's race or his own in the process. So next for Pitasso will be to make some light work of Kosterok, and then set his sights on trying to make the undercut work on Palmer. Looks like Walker has picked up a track limits penalty there in the process. A bit of a late move there. I don't think Pitasso was really planning to make that happen, but Kosterok did run wide a little bit and the door opened for him and he took full advantage of it. Kosterok not really arguing the point either. Both drivers, of course, running different races. And I do believe Kosterok will probably prioritise the battle here with Walker over any battle with a car that is probably just going to finish a bit further up the order than him anyway. And of course, with Walker and that 1 second penalty, he can afford to let Pitasso on his merry way and also build a gap for himself a bit later on this lap when Walker does serve this penalty. Of course, just slightly behind is the number 20 of Ward. So Walker serving that penalty, that's going to allow Ward past into 7th. So Ward actually coming to life here a little bit with the soft tyres on his car, as he has just set the fastest lap of the race on lap number 25. He certainly might be playing himself into contention for a podium here, with Pitasso just a little bit further up the road. Pitasso is certainly within his sights as we now see Ward diving to pit lane. So WTC Racing pit crew out for their pit stop. Wood, of course, managing not to park in front of the CP Motorsport garage as he's used to. So that's part 1 of the pit stop completed successfully. And of course, the pit stops all being completed. Wood rejoining the race in 6th place, and he has been jumped by Ward here. So Ward successfully making the undercut work. Same as well for Von Duve. Von Duve, we failed to mention, does actually have a 5-second gap over Pitasso. So Von Duve making the undercut work wonders between himself and Pitasso. Could potentially also be undercutting Palmer as well. So Von Duve could be looking at being in 2nd place here by the time the pit stops cycle through, and it could be an interesting battle between himself and Palmer to the end of the race. Of course, Palmer will be on a fresh set of soft tyres. So back out in front, it is Hamza leading the way from Palmer. A 24-second gap as Hamza now puts the number 964 of Walker a lap down. The fuel gauge very much looking very red. The right front tyre certainly getting towards the end of its life. I would imagine Hamza will be heading to the pit lane very soon. Palmer, of course, taking the opportunity to make his pit stop. I'm assuming here that they have given the priority in the pit lane to Palmer, who has slightly less fuel remaining. And of course, Hamza with a bit more of a comfortable position, being able to do another lap on the medium tyres. So Palmer completing his stop. Bonduve and Pitasso both going past. And Palmer heading back out onto the track in 4th place. So has lost 2 positions from the undercut as a result of his pit stop. And now coming under a bit of pressure here from Ward on his outlap. Ward certainly looking very racy here on the soft tyres. And just a bit further back, it is Wood in the 787 now with the fastest lap, the first driver into the 138s. He'll be looking to make a bit of a challenge later on in this race. As we're on lap 31 of 46. Palmer just coming under a bit of pressure here from Ward as he tries to bring his tyres up to temperature, get a feel for the grip he's got underneath him, get settled into this final stint of, well, what should be the final stint of the race, barring any catastrophe. Ward certainly getting plenty of the inside of the track there, but not enough to trigger a track limits penalty, so he continues on in 5th place. Pitasso now setting the fastest lap of the race with 38.8. And again, a fastest first sector. Hamza now finally into the pit lane for his pit stop. Probably the longest of all the drivers in this race on the medium tyres, and he probably has the luxury of doing so with the margin he has so far in this race. Pitasso certainly making the most of the current grip levels in his car, trying to extend that advantage out over Palmer. come under a bit less of a threat later on in the race. So we just get a look at Hamza in the pits. His car refueled to the end. Fresh set of soft tyres. And of course back out into the lead of the race. With a very comfortable margin over Von Duve in second. So the undercut has worked a bit in taking some of the gap out between Von Duve and Hamza. Of course, Hamza was enjoying about a 25 second lead. And it is now down to 18 seconds between himself and Von Duve. Of course, Batasso trying to close in on Von Duve. Palmer trying to close in on Batasso. Palmer has just set the fastest lap of the race with a 38.4. And he is certainly setting about the task of overhauling Batasso and possibly even Von Duve in the final 14 laps of this race. Three-tenths faster again this time around through the second sector. And the gap between Palmer and Batasso now under 3 seconds. So Palmer another fastest lap with a 38.3. Let's ride on board with him as he attempts to run down Batasso. Just a small mistake there from Palmer through the final chicane. Just took that margin out to about 2.8 seconds. But Batasso just losing a little bit of time there. I think he's now in the dirty air of Von Duve. There's a gap between Batasso and Von Duve now down under a second. So Von Duve now closing stages of the race. That early pit stop probably coming back to bite him here a little bit. Certainly used up all that grip in the undercut and the freshness of that soft tyre. And now the chasing pack with their fresher rubber now looking to take full advantage of a vulnerable number 117 Lexus. As Pitasso now closing right up to the back of Von Duve for second place. You'd probably say it's a matter of time before Pitasso moves ahead. The question will be, where will he get this overtake done? Gets a good run onto the pit straight. Doesn't have enough pace. Gets a bit of dirty air as well. That allows Von Duve to just build a margin. I think the best place he can aim to make the overtake happen is down the end of his back straight. And at the moment, I don't think he is close enough to get that slipstream that he needs to get the move done down the back straight. If anything, looks like Palmer now is the one closer to Pitasso than Pitasso is to Von Duve. Of course, Hamza out in the lead of this race, setting a new fastest lap on his new set of soft tyres with a 38.0 second lap. Pitasso looks to have a bit of a moment there. Near turn 13, he's now coming under attack from Palmer. Palmer looking for the run onto the pit straight. He gets in the draft of Pitasso. Doesn't look to have enough to make an overtake in the turn 1. Now the aim will be to stick nice and closely here through the chicane, which he's managed to do so without copping the dirty air. Pitasso has picked up a penalty. And this is going to make Pitasso's job a little bit harder. Palmer is doing all the right. So it looks like Palmer is going to wait it out until Pitasso serves his track limits penalty here at the end of the lap. So we head to the final corner of lap 37. Oldman moving out the way. Pitasso now serving that penalty. That's going to slow him up enough for Palmer to sweep past into third. So now the mission for Palmer. 1 second the gap between himself and Von Duve in second place. And Pitasso is just 7/10 of a second behind, so any mistake from Palmer in this battle will invite Pitasso back onto the podium. Gaps remaining level between the three drivers. It's 4 seconds further back between Pitasso and Ward in the battle for 5th place. As it looks like Wood is just a little bit further back from Ward. Palmer looking to have a bit of a better run there out of turn 13 and closes right up to the back of Von Duve through 14 and 15. He's certainly closed right up to the back of Von Duve. Sticks in the draft, down the pit straight, into turns 1, 2 and 3 chicane. Manages to maintain that half-second gap through into turn 4. And these next few corners will be crucial for Palmer. Can he get close enough to get into the slipstream of Von Duve? Gap is under half a second. He gets a great run there onto the back straight. And Palmer well and truly in the draft of Von Duve. Tries to tuck himself right underneath the rear wing. Will he get a move done down the end of the straight here? He moves to the left, gets down the inside. Von Duve holds firm on the outside, and they run side by side here. And Von Duve still manages to hold on to second place. Palmer looking for the switchback here out of turn 12 and into turn 13. And this time around he gets the switchback done. He's got the inside line here for turn 14 at the chicane. And Palmer outbraking Von Duve. Moves into second place. Von Duve will be looking to make a move. He gets to the left, to the inside of Palmer. Into turn 1. And he moves back into second place. It looked a little bit sketchy across the chicane, but Von Duve certainly managing to hold on the second. And he's picked up a penalty for that. I did think he ran wide across the turn 2 chicane. And now Palmer just slipping back up the inside. And now Von Duve, Patasso battling it out for third place. Von Duve does have that penalty over his head. Patasso will want to try and get ahead of Von Duve before the penalty burn zone and try and make a battle of this between himself and Palmer. Patasso dives up the inside, gets the job done at the end of the back straight. And now Patasso will be setting his sights on a battle with Palmer in these closing laps. Of course, 7 laps remaining in the race. 6 laps to go this time by. And it's a little bit over 7/10 of a second between Palmer and Patasso. Of course, both these drivers probably enjoying many a battle in the Track Stars Touring Car Series from 2021 through till now. And this one here certainly setting themselves up for a grandstand finish here in the battle for second place in the Trial Mountain 250. As Patasso just collects the wall there on the exit onto the back straight. Two drivers was staying steady at about 7/10 of a second. Looks like Patasso just had a little bit of a moment there. And that has cost him a few tenths of a second to Palmer in this battle. So Palmer now with a 1.1 second lead as we cross the finish line. 5 laps to go in this race. It does look like Palmer does have a bit of a tyre advantage here in the closing stages. Certainly a bit more tyre life left compared to Patasso. And that margin just going out to 1.5 seconds now. Patasso now with a 2-second lead over Von Duve. We might start to look a bit further back, see what battles we've got. Ward and Wood, less than a second between those two. And they have been closing in on the back of Von Duve, so the battle for fourth probably still well and truly on between these 3 cars. O'Shea, a bit of a lonely race there in 7th. Costa Rock holding a 2.7 gap over Harcourt. Costa Rock in 8th, Harcourt in 9th, Walker in 10th. Just a second between him and Harcourt. Campbell in 11th. Lashbrook in 12th. And then we have Oldman and Hayden is 30 seconds ahead of Palmer at this point with 4 laps to go. So we'll direct our attention back a little bit further down the order. Looks like Wood has picked up a half a second penalty here. Unfortunately, this could prove costly for Wood in the battle with Ward. Ward just running a little bit wide there. Of course, he's got a little bit of breathing room between himself and Wood, as Wood is about to serve that half a second penalty. See what the margin between these two ends up being. Looks like Wood will nearly lose a second here. So the gap between Wood and Ward now nearly 2 seconds. We've got 3 laps left in the race. Wood definitely pushing to close that margin. It looks like he's nearly taken half a second out of Ward in the opening part of this lap. He certainly has the tyre advantage over Ward at this stage. Ward's tyres very worn down as he looks to make inroads on Von Duve for 4th place. At this point, it is Wood that is closing up quicker than Ward is closing up on Von Duve. Although the difference is not a lot between the two. So 2 laps to go in the Trial Mountain 250. Certainly getting a little bit laggy here on the feed we are receiving. Ward has closed that gap under a second between himself and Von Duve. And Dan Wood looking to, he's closed the set to under a second as well. So certainly the battle between this trio, probably the most interesting one on the track at the moment. Will Wood or Ward be able to close up in enough time to make a move? Looks like Wood is going to be the one more likely to make an overtake on Ward. I think Von Duve might be a bit safer in 4th place, barring any catastrophe in this final lap. So Hamza now on the final lap of the race, in amongst all the battling from 2nd through to 6th. We have missed that. Hamza has taken the fastest lap of the race and moved into the 1:37s. It's definitely been a season to remember for Hamza as he approaches the final 2 corners of the Trial Mountain 250. Of course, it is getting pretty laggy here. I don't think there is any mistakes coming from Hamza. It's been no mistakes all race long, and he's going to cruise to the finish line here and take victory in round 9 of the Trackstars Touring Car Series. It's Hamza with the win in the Trial Mountain 250. Wood has made a move into 4th place. So Wood has gone from 6th to 4th on the final lap. We have definitely missed that one. And in the background, it is Ward and Von Duve duking it out for 5th place. So it'll be Palmer who crosses the line in 2nd place. We won't catch that on screen as we try and watch what we can of this battle here. So Palmer in 2nd, Patasso in 3rd, Wood capturing 4th place for WTC Racing, with Ward in 5th, Von Duve in 6th. Let's see if we can get a replay of the action here. So Wood in the slipstream of Ward. Looks like there might have been a bit of contact there between Ward and Von Duve, and Wood has just slipped through between them and taken over 4th place. So great driving there from Wood to take 4th. O'Shea crosses line in 7th. Costa will narrowly take 8th place over Walker. Fine result there from Costa and of course Walker. Harcourt will cross the line and round out the top 10 in this race. And then the rest of our finishers, Campbell in 11th, Lashbrook 12th, Oldman in 13th, and then Hayden rounding out the field in 14th position. Of course, yet again, it is this man on our screens, Ridwan Hamza, taking another victory here in the 2023 Trackstars Touring Car Series. It is now 8 round wins from 9 rounds in the series so far. And Hamza certainly proving the dominant force so far in this series. And funnily enough, probably one of his drop rounds is going to be a round win. Most likely the one at Road Atlanta. As even the Kyoto 500 second place finish, he scored well over 300 points with the bonus points taken into consideration. So that won't be a drop round for him, even though he finished in second place, compared to his other round win. But certainly at this stage, he's probably on for the championship victory. Not sure who will be able to stop him at this point. So we'll get another recap of the results before we wrap things up here tonight. Of course, Hamza taking the victory by nearly 30 seconds over Palmer. Another 1-2 finish for the It's Racing Esports team. Patasso, an early stint in second place, comes across the line in third. A fine podium there from the Mash Spuds Racing owner. In fourth place, of course, our 2021 Track Stars Touring Car Series champion in Dan Wood. Of course, jumping in to perform the reserve driver role for the absent Scott. And then fifth place inside the top five for Ward. Then unfortunately for Von Duve, his undercut not quite paying off, and that sees him drop from second to sixth at the end of the race. And then we have O'Shea in seventh, a bit of a lonely race for him. And then Costa Rock, some consistent driving from him, and the AGU Motorsport team owner finishing in eighth place, just ahead of Walker in ninth, and then rounding out the top 10. The team manager, or even more in the case of Hayden, of course Campbell in 11th for lap down, Lashbrook as well in 12th, Oldman in 13th, and then Hayden 3 laps down in 14th. Probably performing an admirable job in such late notice to be called into that number 34 AGU Motorsport Lexus. So there we have it. The Trial Mountain 250. Run and done for this year. And it is, of course, Ridwan Hamza taking out the victory in what has been a dominant season for the driver of the number 95 Nissan. So it's time to wrap things up here tonight, here on the coverage of the Track Stars Touring Car Series. A big thank you to everyone for joining along here tonight as we brought you the coverage of the Trial Mountain 250. Of course, next up on the calendar for the Track Stars Touring Car Series, I believe there might be a week off. I'll just bring up the calendar very quickly. Yes. Actually, no, there isn't a week off. It is 3 weekends in a row for the Track Stars Touring Car Series. Next week, it is the Grand Valley Highway. A very picturesque circuit. And of course, racing in the sunset for the Grand Valley 300. Of course, a very traditional race amongst the Gran Turismo series. So that'll be one to look forward to. Certainly mark that on the calendars and join us next week. Of course, before then, the Track Stars TS3 Touring Car Series will have their 10th round of the championship, as well as the curtain raiser to the Grand Valley 300 with 2 10-lap races around the Grand Valley circuit before the main series gets their 59-lap race in the books. So thanks for joining in tonight. Look forward to seeing you next time around, hopefully for either the TS3 Touring Car